Grace, welcome. I'm here with Shannon Johnson and Victoria Walters from the Audit Wales HR department. This week is National Apprenticeship Week. For some background, National Apprenticeship Week is a UK-wide event dedicated to celebrating and promoting the work of trainees in different organisations, public sector and private sector, across the entirety of the United Kingdom. Of course, in Audit Wales, we rely very heavily on young talent. We have lots of trainees, apprentices and work placements. Nowhere is this more true, perhaps, than in our HR department, which has seen a sort of massive changes in staff across the past year and a half. Shannon and Victoria, do you want to start by explaining specifically what your roles are and what you do within your teams?
Hi, I'm Shannon and I work in HR as an apprenticeship. I do a bit of everything so I can learn everything which will help me benefit in my future.
Oh, thanks, Alex. I'm Victoria Walters. I'm the HR learning partner. I work across the HR function in general, as well as focusing on learning development and organisational development. And Shannon and I work really closely together on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, how have you found the experience of either being or working with apprentices?
I've absolutely loved it. What an absolute fantastic 18 months we've had so far, Shannon. I'd worked with apprentices before, but never directly line managed an apprentice. So it was a new departure for me. A little bit nervous, but also excited. I think we've really grown together on this journey. I think Shannon came in with previous experience. Actually, she'd done a level 2 apprenticeship in the NHS, and she came to us to do a level 3. So she was also already quite in tune to what the expectations were of her from the level 2, but she came into she'd never worked in a HR team before. So it's just been really exciting because she's been part of the journey that HR have been on, the new team forming, and she's had lots of opportunities to input and provide her perspective and get involved in projects. And I've just loved watching her grow and build her confidence. And, she's just flourished. Loved every minute of it.
I agree with Vic. I've loved every minute of my apprenticeship. I was quite shy to start with, and I've grown a lot in that, and I've gained a lot of relationships with not just in HR, but outside HR as well. I think that's been from working from home, so it has been a positive side to it.
Moving on from that, what benefits do apprenticeship programs present as an opportunity for learning?
I just think they open the door to such diversity of candidate and people who can bring such a different perspective. I mean, just from an age point of view, Shannon's the youngest in the team, but she's so astute and she will tackle any challenge and she will sort of approach everything so positively. And we often find ourselves in a reverse mentoring situation where Shannon is helping me with something that I don't necessarily understand or am aware of. And I just think it allows experienced people to get perspectives, from less experienced people who just bring a different point of view to the situation. And I just think that there's so much richness in what the apprenticeship has to offer. And in our team, Shannon offers system-based insight all the time. She's constantly picking up things that the system could do differently or better, or she's been integral to some systems changes recently over the last few months. And yeah, just in general, really broadly speaking, Shannon's involved in all our project work right across HR and L&D and systems, and I don't think there's anything that she hasn't provided some sort of insight for, which is fantastic.
I would actually advise anyone to do an apprenticeship because you're getting paid, but you're learning so much. Like I've got a fantastic team which support me really well. And if there's anything I want to learn more on, they will help me with that.
That's good to hear. I want to talk a little bit about career development opportunities. Like you said, Victoria, Shannon had previous experience in the NHS before working for Audit Wales. What career opportunities does doing an apprenticeship present to you?
I think already, I mean, we're a really small organisation, and it is difficult to provide progression and lots of different pathways because we are such a small organisation. But I think even in a small organisation, there's real opportunity. So the exposure for her, even within a very small business, has been, really, really broad. So even if you look at it from a HR point of view, that there's a potential for an apprentice to become a band one admin and then move through to officer, then business partner, HR manager, head of HR, whatever. So there is a linear progression within HR, but Shannon's got so many skills that she's acquired from working with us that really that could take her off in lots of different directions. And I think the broad exposure that she's had across the business is allowing her to see, what each department looks and feels like, and shows that those skills are transferable. So yeah, I think the opportunities are endless really, and every time she has a different touch point with a different part of the business, it gives her a different insight and allows her sort of perspective of what jobs and careers could look like, to broaden.
I think it gives you a lot of career development opportunities. As, like Vic said, I've done a lot in not just HR, but in business services, etc., which will, if I get a different job somewhere else, it'll open my field so I can apply for different things. It doesn't mean I got to apply for a job in HR.
I think the
Yeah,
thing for me as well, Alex, is um, the real growth and development I've seen in Shannon is her ability to build relationships. And this has really helped her grow in confidence. Like Shannon won't mind me saying, when we went into lockdown, and those first few months, like she found them challenging because she's such a people person, and actually she's trying to do an apprenticeship from home, and the whole point of an apprenticeship is that you learn on the job. So I think that was a challenge, but actually through this medium of little virtual squares, she has really come out of her comfort zone and built relationships, and those sort of people skills that she's really developed, again transferable, and they will really help her with whatever career path that she takes. So I think I can't I can't sort of undervalue those people skills, because I think that's where I've seen a massive growth in her, and in her confidence as well.
that makes sense. And you touched on this here, but it definitely sounds like apprentices can be a real asset to teams. But in what ways do they benefit organisations as a whole? And do you find organisations like ours can learn from them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's, weeks like this really help, raising awareness about apprenticeships, raising awareness about inclusivity and diversity, and encouraging people to look at their career pathways in a different way. You know, coming in at entry level as an apprentice is another route that we offer, like our trainee, our sort of grad route. It just provides another route and makes us more accessible as an organization. I just think there's so much that we can learn from providing these work-based learning opportunities for people to gain a qualification, to learn and work and understand the culture that exists at Audit Wales, and sort of develop their role and skills with us. And then if they identify some route with our organisation that develops into a role, that's fantastic. Or if they collect all those skills from the apprenticeship and then move on to another organisation, as to follow their career path, and that's great as well. So I think it's there's so much that we can learn and benefit, but I think it is about raising the the profile and understanding and awareness of what apprenticeships are and what they bring and the value that they add.
Yeah. And Shannon, do you find that through your role you sort of had an influence and a learning effect on the organisation and the people around you?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Like, I just think I've made a lot of like difference in HR. I feel like I've helped Vic a lot with the learning and development, and I feel that that benefits her a lot. And for everyone else in like HR, if they are stuck, if I wasn't there, then I'm not sure what they'd do.
See that confidence, Alex.
That's the type of confidence you need in a team.
Definitely. And even the other day, Siobhan and I and Shannon were doing a piece of work, some HR metrics work, and Shannon, she'll come in left field with a question, and you'll think, yeah, you're right. She's like that critical friend, and she constantly surprises me. Love her to bits.
So she challenges the way you think about your work and your processes.
Yeah, but in a just a really inclusive, friendly way. I think Shannon's retained that curiosity that is really important. That you have a window when you join an organization, and you're like, oh, why do you do that? Why do you do that? And gradually that goes because you become more and more embedded into the organization and how things work, and you understand it more, so you maybe ask less questions. But I think the thing about Shannon is that she is constantly asking questions, and I think, and just sort of understand why we're doing things. And because often we can be doing things that we don't need to be doing, or there could be other ways. And I think that curiosity and inquisitiveness that she brings is fantastic.
That's great to hear. Obviously, organisations have a big role in making themselves apprenticeship friendly. What can organisations like ours do to make their workplaces friendly to apprentices and promote themselves as places to learn?
Letting the organization, talking to people within your organization about what apprentices are and what apprenticeships bring is great. I think good positive communications internally are as important as externally. And also, I think that allows people to embrace apprentices when they come in. So if they're asked to sort of have an apprentice shadow them or spend time with them, they understand why that is and the value that it is, and it helps to make for quite an inclusive culture. Yeah, I think to make apprentices welcome, and Shannon will probably talk a bit more about this, about how she was made to feel welcome, but things like Yammer groups and channels for people to communicate and feel like part of the organization is really important. Especially this year when we've onboarded new apprentices and new trainees, in this virtual sort of in this virtual world. Reaching out, good communication, things like tea and natter, even encouraging different people at different levels to talk and communicate, and be inclusive.
I've been supported fantastically by my team. Like like Vic said, any question I ask, and I ask loads of questions, they all come back with me with an answer, whether my question is the most randomest question ever or probably is like a serious kind of question. But they've supported me so much. I've grown loads. Like this time last year, I can't imagine really going to speak to some people that I speak to now. Or if Vic said to me, "Oh, Shan, you gotta go speak to this person," I'd be a bit like, "Oh, I don't think I can." But now I feel like I've grown so much in confidence that if someone does ring or I've got to ring someone, I'm not worried or have butterflies in my stomach thinking like, "Oh," and I just speak to them just like my team.